Man. All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Dogon SS JV wins back for another edition to the Annals of the Conscious Approach channel on YouTube. Much appreciation to everybody who is tuning in. Thanks to everybody who's been hitting that like button, hitting the subscribe button, leaving those comments. We like to engage and we appreciate the feedback. So much appreciation to everybody who's been hopping on the train. And as we like to say at the opening or at the top of every stream that we do, if this is the first time that you are catching wind of what we do here on this channel, this is what we do each and every week, each and every day, each and every upload. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel and join the tribe, man. You are more than welcome as we continue to kick this logical content, baby. Now, with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get things kicked off. The first thing that we are going to talk about is comments made by Charlamagne in reference to Kamala Harris, who apparently Kamala Harris's team reached out to popular streamer Kai Cenat about joining his stream. And I guess the idea behind doing that is, you know, you're running for office and you want to reach the youth, I guess. And the youth are all about following these streamers and these YouTubers and these guys who stream. And what does Kai do? Like, he streams regular stuff like antics, but doesn't he also game too? Doesn't he kind of run the gamut with the streaming? Yeah. So apparently Kamala's team reached out to hop on to Kai Cenat's platform, and Charlamagne didn't really like that. He didn't think it was a good idea. He felt as though it was forced, and he felt as though, even though he's in favor of candidates going to where voters, prospective voters at least, are, he nevertheless feels as though it should be organic and it shouldn't feel forced. And he feels as though the Kamala Harris campaign trying to ride the Kai Cenat wave was forced, and more specifically only done in direct response to Trump joining Aiden Ross's stream. Aiden Ross is like a Kai Cenat equivalent, who is probably more on the conservative side, I guess. You know, so this is just this weird new human internet stuff that we now this is this new human internet stuff that we now have to contend with whenever we're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. But to provide a little bit of context, we are going to show you guys what Charlamagne had to say about Kamala Harris's team reaching out to Kai Cenat. So it says Charlamagne the guy slams Kamala Harris for reaching out to Kai Cenat. Charlamagne the guy wasn't a fan of Kamala Harris's team reaching out to Kai Cenat about collaborating on a live stream. The Breakfast Club host discussed the story on Wednesday morning, days after Donald Trump spoke with Aiden Ross. He hit me and tell me who sent you that text, man, because whoever on Vice President Kamala Harris's team hit Kai Cenat to do a live stream, they need to be fired, Charlamagne began. So the rest of that, it just goes into his quote, but we'll do better than that. We'll go ahead and play the actual audio and video. So this, from there, Charlamagne theorized Cenat is certainly not a fan of Trump, but also clearly isn't interested in politics. So here is what Charlamagne had to say about the Kamala Harris team reaching out to Kai Cenat and how he didn't like it because he felt it was forced and inorganic.
Who gonna have the audacity to text me, we need you a part of the campaign? At first I was thinking she was talking about like a game, a video game, like a modern warfare game. I'm like, what campaign? If there's some way, somehow, something was to go into where I do the stream of politics, I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm going to sit on my stream and say, why did you guys call me?
Dropping the clues bombs with Kai Cenat. Kai, hit me and tell me who sent you that text, man. Because whoever on Vice President Kamala Harris' team hit Kai Cenat to do a live stream, they need to be fired. Okay, stop letting social media run her campaign. You saw Trump go on Aiden Ross, and you saw the attention that garnered. You saw the headlines that got. You saw social media start saying the vice president needs to go on Kai Cenat, and you ran to go make that happen. Not even stopping to think, is this organic? Does Kai Cenat even care about politics? You know why?
Does he even know anything about it? Have questions? He might be supportive of Trump. We don't know.
No, he's not supportive of Trump. Cut it out.
You don't know who he supports.
I know he don't support no Trump. You know why the Trump Aiden Ross scream worked? Because Aiden Ross had real interest in Donald Trump. And I do believe politicians should absolutely meet people where they are, but it still has to make sense. Let it be something organic. There's a lot of places the VP can go to get in front of a younger audience. There are influencers, Kai age, I don't know. Like I said, I'm all from meeting people where they are, but it also has to make sense.
But Kai Cenat has I've never heard Kai Cenat mention politics one time. Not even talk about it at all.
No.
So we don't know what his interests are, what he cares about, what he likes. Not at all. We know he's the biggest streamer, but besides that, he's never mentioned politics.
If the vice president was to run the Kai now, she would just look like she's copying Trump.
Mm-hmm.
You know who I want to see the vice president sit with? I want to see the vice president sit with the 85 South show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a great organic kickback. I believe Carlos Chico would have a real honest conversation with her, and we would love that for the Black Effect iHeartRadio podcast network, by the way. Kamala should tap in with somebody like that kid, what's his name? Harry Sisson, I think his name is. He's all in on the Harris Walls campaign. I love Kai, but sending the VP to Kai just because Trump went to Aiden Ross, that's corny.
I'll pull up here at the Breakfast Club.
No, send the VP and her silk press someplace that doesn't look like she's copying Trump. That's what should happen.
All right, so he's not a fan. He feels like it makes her look like she's copying Trump. The article goes on to say, in other election news, Harris announced on Tuesday that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz will be her running mate. Be on the lookout for further updates on Charlamagne as well as Kamala Harris and the election on this website, which we got this content from Hot New Hip Hop. So Charlamagne feels like she's copying Trump, or at least that's what it looks like, going after Kai Cenat in direct response to, not in direct response, but after Trump was on Aiden Ross's stream, and he thinks that it's forced and it's not organic, and he's not against or opposed to political candidates like Harris hitting up streamers, but he feels as though it should be organic. And in his estimation, based on what we just saw there, I guess what he was saying is it's not organic because Cenat is either not interested in politics, or we just don't know what his politics are, or he has not necessarily expressed an interest in Harris. So according to him, those are guidelines for what constitutes organic or lack thereof. So what are your thoughts on Charlamagne's comments there about the Kamala Harris team attempting to reach out to Kai Cenat to get on one of his live streams?
I really feel as though that's, sound advice. I mean, if you're running a campaign, especially in today's modern age, you want to come off as organic as possible, but, politics and politicians and the word organic is an oxymoron to me. So everything that they do is a put on, and everything that they do is part of their theatrics of their campaign. And so when you're putting on a campaign, you have to look the part, do certain things, shake the hands, kiss the babies, do all the stuff that, you normally wouldn't do while you're actually in your presidency or whatever. So for him to suggest them to be organic, I don't have any issue with it, because this looks fake as hell. But everything she's done has been fake as hell thus far, as far as I'm concerned, And we already covered the Megan Thee Stallion, clapping it up on stage, and I also made light and made joke of her pandering to coloreds with her talks about greens. So she's going to keep the pandering up. She needs to do this. This is part of her campaign model. It's honestly been part of the Democratic model. And I think right now, really people that are either on the fence or, people that are actually Democratic, I think they're starting to look at this stuff and starting to get insulted. And so Kai, I mean, it was hilarious, watching his response to this. I was like, hey, man, you better chill out, young man. He was like, man, I got the Secret Service, blowing me up, over this. And that's intense stuff. So, of course, she's going to copy Trump. Of course, she's going to copy anything that looks like it's got steam, because she doesn't have steam of herself, on her own. So she has to fake the funk and attach herself to anybody at this point. The Boulay, by the way, are coming out in full throttle. So, all the old head comedians, all the old head actors and old head whoever talking figures, they're all backing her and saying that, you ain't black if you don't vote for her. But that's for the older people. The younger people, she needs to be able to reach out. So attempt A was Megan Thee Stallion. I don't think that really went over too well. Even from the baddies themselves or hotties themselves, they was like, hey, I'm a Meg fan, but there's a time and a place for all of this stuff. So even Meg fans had a problem with that. And so now Kai just airing her out. On his live, so all the little Fortnite kids, now they're starting to think she's a laughing stock. So that's not good either. That was actually bad PR on her behalf. So she should have did her research and actually seen if the guy was actually interested, instead of trying to strong arm the guy, hey man, it is what it is. But what are your thoughts, man? This whole Kamala thing or whatever her name is, this is really starting to become a sideshow, and I'm actually here for the shenanigans. This has been more entertaining than I think her actual presidency would be if she's actually president. But I like all this campaign stuff. It's tons of fun. But what are your thoughts, sir, on Charlamagne calling out Kamala Harris?
I hear what he's saying, but I don't agree with him. Well, I agree with him in principle, but I don't agree with him in this instance because, I'm not intimately knowledgeable of Megan Thee Stallion outside of her music, but to the best of my knowledge, I'm not sure I have heard Megan Thee Stallion expound on politics all that often, yet she somehow made her way to a rally on behalf of Kamala Harris in Atlanta, a hotbed for black folks, no less. So if my whole thing is if Megan Thee Stallion and Quavo can be present at a rally or on behalf of Kamala Harris, two individuals to whom I have not heard them talk about politics really at all, or express any sort of political leanings or thoughts on any sort on any of these matters, then why can't Kai Cenat invite her to a live stream? I'm not seeing the difference. They're both strategic targets to be able to galvanize a particular demographic. In the case of Megan Thee Stallion and Quavo, it's clearly to get black people. And in the case of Kai Cenat, it's to get young people. And since Kai Cenat is a black streamer, in a roundabout way, you can kind of kill two birds with one stone by getting black young people. Because I'm pretty sure that there's young black people who follow Kai Cenat and comment and be on his streams whenever he's doing whatever he's doing. Having live streams with people like Ice Spice and the rest of these weirdo modern day heroes that these kids look up to. So I don't really get where Charlamagne is coming from, because as far as I'm concerned, this is quite consistent with what we have been seeing thus far with this circus. I don't see the difference. If Megan Thee Stallion can be on stage twerking and shaking her ass and performing, telling the women of the world and all of her hotties that if they love their bodies, they know who to vote for, even though I'm fairly sure her body count is, whatever undisclosed amount, then I don't see a reason why Kai Cenat cannot be another person who is a part of the Kamala Harris brigade to ensure that she, along with the DNC, can maintain their stranglehold on some of these various demographics that historically they have been able to maintain a stranglehold over. That being, melanated Americans of African descent and younger people who are minorities and various other disenfranchised people. So frankly, I just don't see the difference. I don't get where Charlamagne is coming from. If we lived in principle times where people did things on principle, I'd understand where he was coming from. But as I intimated last week when we gave our updated thoughts on Kamala Harris, when she, was getting roasted by what's that kid's name? Sway Lee. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago? Whenever it was that we did that topic. And I was saying, this is kind of par for the course with the way that these campaigns tend to operate. And I fully expect for them to do these sorts of things. But since I've relented, right, it's too much for me to say, hey, let's be above board and not have people like Megan Thee Stallion at the rally. Let's be a little more sophisticated and a little more intelligent and intentional in terms of getting people to from the popular culture world to be a part of what we like to do here, who can also speak at least moderately knowledgeable about some of the issues that people care about. No, you stoop to low-hanging fruit and get the rapper who's going to be twerking all the time. So because I expect for you to do that, I say balance it out by also bringing on intelligent people who hold influence outside of these various ecosystems. I mentioned names like Killer Mike, who's actually involved in local politics, who's also a rapper. So if you're if you need to get rappers because that's what you feel you need to do in order to galvanize the particular demographics that you're looking for, then at least offset people like Megan Thee Stallion with people like Killer Mike, who's also a rapper, but is also involved and knowledgeable and knows what he's talking about, and is someone to whom I would listen to if he wanted to expound on various issues, not somebody like Megan Thee Stallion, who talks about the most ratchet stuff all day, every day when it comes to her music, but then wants to tell women that her hotties need to vote for Kamala Harris if they love their bodies. Bring some sort of balance into the mix. And, you know, my cry for that last week was about accepting that this is the way things are, and they are not principled. And since things are not principled, and this is the way these campaigns operate, I don't think that it is inorganic at all for this campaign to reach out to an individual like Kai Cenat. I actually think it's the most organic thing in the world, according to the way modern politics work. And this is not something that is specifically endemic to the blue card carrying Democrats of the world. The red side does it as well. See Kid Rock's Jigaboom performance at the RNC at the RNC last month. It's no different. Hulk Hogan ripping his shirt off. Like, everyone is doing this weird sideshow stuff.
Right.
But I don't hear what Charlamagne is saying, because we don't live in principled times anymore. We live in low-hanging fruit. Let's stoop to the lowest common denominator in order to cast the widest net possible. And when it comes to minorities, how do we cast the widest net possible? Grab some of these rappers. You know, when it comes to the other side and wanting to cast the widest net possible, let's get people who put Instagram live videos on their social media shooting AR-15s. That's what this stuff is. His point would be more well received on my part if we lived in more principled times, but because we don't, I don't really understand what he's saying. I would have been shocked if they didn't reach out to this kid, because this is what this stuff is in 2024. So if Meg can be at a rally helping for her to galvanize the black demographic, then Kai Cenat can be on a live stream with her so that she can try to galvanize the youth demographic.
Yeah, man. I mean, I agree. But again, I don't know how organic this woman can be, because let's just be honest, bro. You know, this lady, at least to me, she's fake as hell. She comes off as real, you know, non-authentic, like all over the place. Like, I don't even know what this woman's about outside of the stuff, you know, outside of pro-reproduction and rights.
Right. There you go. Yeah. You stopped short. Yeah, you needed the rights part, because she's not pro-reproduction.
She's not pro-reproduction. She's actually anti-reproduction.
Right.
So, you know, her doing that, you know, her stance on border things. So she you know, she's pretty open and straight to the point about what she's really about. And in everything else, you just don't seem to know what's going on there. Everything seems to be a cackling laugh or Donald Trump's fault. And the crazy thing about it is they're still blaming Trump for stuff. I'm talking about Harris and them. And y'all been in office for 4 years. So my thing is, well, why are things still his fault? Shouldn't you guys been in there fixing it already? You know, or doing something, putting, you know, boots to the ground to get these things, you know, ratified later? But no, man, they're just sitting around here, you know, throwing stones and saying anything that doesn't pertain to Americans' real concerns. So the only thing she was gonna do was get on Kai's live, trying to get streaming numbers like Kevin Hart or something. What does she think this is gonna be? What y'all think y'all was gonna get in there and do? So what, you was gonna dance? She should have did this. In hindsight, she should have did this, because I want to see how low she was gonna go. Literally, figuratively, and literally. Because I didn't see the Aiden Ross Trump thing, but I can guarantee you this: Trump wasn't going to drop it like it was hot. And but Kamala Harris, who knows what she was going to do? She was going to put on something and start shaking her hips, to show how cool she is. Hey guys, don't you guys want a president like me? It's like, hey, what are you really here to? What are your policies? So people keep hollering about what's your policies, and as I mentioned, it's really only two that everybody's knows about for the most part, because that's the only thing she talks about. So I think we know what it's going to look like when she's already in office. Everything's going to be the same but worse, and and everybody's supposed to be happy about it. So this whole thing is just again, it's laughable to me. But also concerning, in the grand scheme of things, because this is what they've done to us. They gave us these two people, and they said, "Choose, Americans, choose." And it's like, man. And at some point, I guess it's going to have to be the millennials to really just go, "Hey, man, we're not doing this. We're not doing this anymore." I mean, we really do, I hope, have a choice, and to not just participate in this type of shenanigans where they're giving you Pepsi or Coke. Pepsi or Coke, man, which one do you want? And it's like, well, I know there's other soft drinks out there. He's like, nope, Pepsi or Coke, and that's all they force on everybody. So everybody's Pepsi or everybody's Coke, and and that's what we're doing. But honestly, I think by now we should all know that that soda is not good for us anyway. So why do we even have to choose a soda? So I think the people really have to start trying to think of another way of looking at this political system, for the future, because for the future's sake, because this horse and pony show, they're not going to stop, and they're disconnected where the people at seems to be at an all-time high. I mean, they really are on another planet with where people are currently at. To
me, they have the greatest disconnect with the people to whom they claim to be the most concerned for, which is the people who are the backbone, the people who actually do the work in this country. Right. Like, yes, if you earn 6 figures a year, and if you're building bridges, and if you're curing cancer, and if you're working in hospitals, or otherwise, if you're wealthy generationally, or if you're in that top 1 or top 10%, everything is great for you. But the individuals to whom the backbone of this country is made out of, the people who are actually working physically, doing blue collar work, doing manual labor, that's where the disconnect is. And that's the people they claim to care about the most. But coincidentally, those are also the people who are getting the most left behind. And I think that's where the angst and the outrage is coming from. But as I have said over and over and over again, these individuals seem to be allergic to actually being specific about what the hell they are going to implement that is going to ease some of the anxieties of the majority of this population. That's 65 to 70% of the people to whom that qualifies, working class people. People who depend on a check. They just don't seem to be able to do it. And all people are asking for is, can you do it? And then people like you are have become so indifferent towards it and apathetic, rightfully so, because you're not hearing these needed talking points.
Correct.
The border is I don't want to get political because I'm not the most politically astute person, but people who are working jobs in this country and earning salaries, they don't give a shit about the border. That's what I'm saying about when it comes to this stuff. Most people out here who are waking up every day, taking their kids to school, and then going to work for 8 hours a day are not thinking about the border. They're not. And people who are coming into this country across the border are not taking their jobs. So then that's another aspect of this fear mongering that has people petrified, and it's a fallacy. It's false evidence appearing real. It's not real. Like, no jobs are being taken by people running across the border. Like, no one's hopping into an office. Like, no one's coming across the border and hopping into an office and taking a salaried position. The jobs that these individuals are occupying are jobs that a lot of people are not applying for in the first place. So they're vacancies. They're not being taken away from anybody. But, you know, that's the disconnect. The greatest swath of people in this country, people who are just earning a living, that's the greatest disconnect. And they're not talking to them, and people are getting mad about it. Really, all these individuals care about, as far as I can tell, in my opinion, is the people who are affluent, upwardly mobile, people who are approaching that 6-figure barrier, whether you're combining incomes or you're doing single incomes, or the wealthy. That's what I see happening, in my opinion. And I could be wrong, but I don't think so based upon what I'm observing. So they need to fix that. And until they do, you're going to get cynics like me and you who are going to run our mouths on channels like this, calling BS on a lot of this stuff. Even though at the end of the day, I will still say she should have been on that. He should have let her on that live stream, because that is politics in the modern day.
I mean, it would have really been, the crazy part about it is that he had to decline.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part. A streamer declines a presidential candidate. This is where we're at.
You can't make that up. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It would have been so golden. Because if she was willing to stoop that low to reach down to a streamer, then she would have gotten even more humiliating on the stream itself. I think. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine if it was a streamer who knew about politics and was like gonna grill her? How that would have went?
That would have been great too, because it's live. But one thing about it, they gave him a list, and you better adhere to it, sir. You go off script, man. You know what I'm saying? You might be off script soon. So don't mess with those dudes in the black suits. But then again, if they're the same people in the black suits that was defending Trump, who knows, man? They might not even get it done. Yeah, man, this is definitely turned into, I mean, between this and the Olympics, which we will cover, I mean, this has just been the messiest political season. Like the last few, honestly, have gotten even progressive, more and more progressively messier.
Yeah.
And so this one's shaping up to be the same. So yeah, man, Kamala, keep it up with the great laughs. I mean, I love the trying and the failing here. Now, if she was a real person trying and failing, that's not funny. But when you a fake person trying to do something, like Drake, and then you're trying and then failing because you're fake, I find that hilarious. At some point, you're gonna realize that being real is the solution, and then by being real, you'll actually have people on your side. Real people. But real people recognize real, and they see fake from a mile away. And from this woman, she's so far away. You know what I'm saying? Most people can't see it. But hey, man, when you got these bifocals, these real bifocals, you can definitely see some fakeness coming from around the corner. So she can keep it up, keep trying and failing. She missed with Kai Cenat, but somebody's gonna say yes to something, and I'll be right there to watch her embarrass herself. So yeah, Charlamagne, you get a pass on this one, bro. Normally I'm here to grill you, but you got somebody. I got bigger fish to fry right now, man. So I'll let you slide right now.
Yeah, I hear what he's saying, but we don't live in principal times anymore. We don't.
Nah, dude.
And so I would have been shocked if they didn't reach out to him. But I give him credit for declining, because he's like, this ain't my world. I don't do politics. And I can respect that for sure. I don't know too much about him, but I can certainly respect that position. It is what it is, man. People are just so over this crap, this garbage, and, we'll continue to talk about it whenever applicable on the channel, of course. But, Miss Harris, I think you need to do yourself a favor and start regularly issuing talking points in which you get specific about the things people care about. If you would at least attempt to do that, maybe people such as myself would not be so cynical towards the prospect of you actually running this place. But until she figures that part out, it's going to continue to be a sideshow. And right now, you are correct. People here on the ground in this nation are unfortunately being asked to choose between two sideshows. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. You know, it's like, which circus do you want to go to? This one or that one? They're both circus, but just pick one.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And why do we have to go to a circus, period? That's my point.
Yeah.
So.
I'd rather go to the theater. Send me to the theater. You know? Next up, we are going to bring up our main man, friend of the channel, Andre 3000, who is clapping back at critics who have an issue with comments that he has made about rapping into your older ages. So for anybody who is unaware, ever since Andre 3000 did an interview with GQ earlier in 2024, in which he talked about not really having a lot of raps that he's sitting on because he doesn't really feel the urge to rap. Part of the reason for that is because he's getting older, and so he feels as though rap is a young person's game, and he doesn't know what he would want to talk about. And, you know, he said for any of the rappers who get older and they still want to rap, kudos. But for him, he just doesn't feel like that's a lane that he wants to operate in. He feels like the older he gets, what is he going to talk about? Things like his colonoscopy and so on and so forth. And since he has said that, a lot of people have come out criticizing his stance. Some people who I can think of off the top of my head have been people like Lil Wayne has something to say about it. LL Cool J also has something to say about it. So people basically have dissenting opinions towards Andre 3000 and his view that it's a little crazy to, you know, continue to go over the age of like 40 and continuing to rap. And so now I guess he is responding to some of the people who are criticizing his stance on this. So this says Andre 3000 hits back at rappers who criticize his age comments. Andre 3000 is hit back at his rap peers who have criticized his comments about rapping over the age of 40. In a cover story interview for Crack Magazine, the Outkast legend said, "I've heard some rappers reply to what I've said about age, and I have to ask, what are you rapping about? Some of the biggest braggadocious rappers in the world, and we love them for that, but it's so much easier to do that for the rest of your life. I don't necessarily rap like that. Our formulas are different." 3 Stacks continued to defend his stance while responding to an unnamed critic. "He doesn't know what it takes for me to do what I do. I don't know what it takes for him to say the same thing over and over again and still keep it creative, but I love him for doing it." Andre 3000 has previously implied that rap is a young man's game, telling GQ, "I'm 48 years old, and not to say that age is a thing that dictates what you rap about, but in a way it does. And things that happen in my life, like what are you talking about? I got to go get a colonoscopy. What are you rapping about? My eyesight is going bad." His comments were met with both disappointment and disagreement from fans and fellow rappers alike, with Lil Wayne calling them depressing. I read a depressing quote or two from someone I respect a lot in music. Weezy said on his Apple Music show, Young Money Radio, last year. And they were asked why you ain't been doing music or whatever. And they was like, "Man, what I'm going to talk about in my 40s, what am I supposed to talk about?" I was like, wow, that was so depressing. I'm like, I have everything to talk about. That was what Wayne was saying in response. The Locks also urged the Love Below lyricist to pick up his notepad and head back into the booth. Speaking on the Breakfast Club, Sheek Louch said, "Nah, so much to talk about, Dre. It's a lot, man. Just how you word it and put it. Of course, we're not talking about being in the hallways of trapping and all that, but it's a lot. Let us know what you've been going through." Styles P then chimed in and said, "Rap about his travels. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. He could have rapped over the flute beat straight up. I think rapping about what he is going to rap about is a good point of view. It gives different people different perspectives." So 3 Stacks is basically saying, I hear what y'all are saying, but my process is different than your process. What is it that you are rapping about? Because perhaps the subject matter that you cover in your music is what makes it easy for you to continue to rap despite the fact that you are progressing into older age. So what do you think of Andre 3000's comments and his retort to people who didn't like the fact that he said he doesn't like rapping past his 40s?
I mean, of course, I agree yet again. I don't know why it's so difficult for some of these dudes to understand. I think it's more, I think it's just a selfish part of consumers that just don't want to evolve themselves. How about that? And so for Andre, he's evolved. I'm pretty sure I think he spoke about it where he tried to get into that bag again, but it doesn't come out, the same type of way. And this spoke to him more. And so, and we had spoke on it where I was like, hey man, artists, they wait for that inspiration to come in pretty much any fashion. And especially, for somebody that's multi-talented like this guy, it could come to him in a way where it's like, hey man, I want to really learn to pick up an instrument and play this thing. So, being a creative person that he is, he actually follows his own way in the sense where he's following his own creative path. And so his creative path says, when I'm trying to sit down and write something, there's nothing here. There's nothing here, but I love this music over here though. And I could just make beats, or instrumentals maybe. And then it probably evolved from whatever to whatever. And then he just started to actually feel this. And, I can dig that. So I think the selfish part of consumers, again, is just that, hey, man, just give me what I'm used to. Just give me my dopamine, man. I don't care what you got going on, And I remember when his album came out, I was seeing, videos online of people just saying, we don't want this, then they started playing, Players Anthem or, Bombs Over Baghdad or, this is the Andre we want. And it's like, hey man, I want Andre to be Andre. How about that? And Andre says he wants to do this. I think that's awesome. So, once you understand that you do got to grow up in life, you can't keep doing the same things, man. And so, once you actually realize that, then his level of growing up was putting down a mic. Some of these guys that's in their 40s and 50s need to put the microphone down because they still talking like they on the block. What you got to prove to me, bro? I know exactly what you got going on right now. You got a podcast. So what are you talking about? Why are you talking all this tough guy rah-rah? But hey, I used to slang powder, I was like, I don't need what you used to do right now. Right now we're in a situation where we need to get out of those circumstances. So I think Andre is doing his part in changing the trajectory of hip hop history, if you will, because now there's going to be young people or people his age or whoever who are taking notes and watching him follow his own creative path and say, you know what, why can't I do my own version? And it might not be through a flute. It might not even be through an instrument. It might be through painting or whatever else, but, or designing something or what have you. But follow your path, man, and be true to yourself while you're growing up. But what are your thoughts, sir, on, Andre, giving his critics, a little response? How do you feel? You agree with him?
I agree with him 100%. This guy's my spirit animal. These rappers, yo. So it's funny, Lil Wayne, right? And I'm not trying to kill Lil Wayne.
No,
I'm not an anti-Lil Wayne guy.
Yeah.
But Wayne said, it's crazy Andre 3000 feels he has nothing to talk about. Like, I have everything to talk about. Yet, if you listen to Lil Wayne's latest music, it's the same thing, except it's more hard to understand because as he's gotten older and he's deteriorated a little bit, in my opinion, like what he is saying has literally become harder to understand than when he was younger. But for the most part, the subject matter has remained women, 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 street stuff, more women, street stuff, sprinkled in a little bit of women. And did I forget to mention the street stuff? If you listen to Wayne's latest full-length project that he released, which I believe is the Collie Grove 2 with 2 Chainz, and I listened to this album several times.
Okay.
Most of the songs on that are women and women and women and street stuff and money, back to the women and the street stuff and the money and the women and the street stuff. There's a couple of songs on there that get a little introspective, but across the entire track list of that album, it's mostly standard issue. So he can say he has everything to talk about, but if you actually listen to what he is putting out musically, he's playing directly into what Andre 3000 is talking about. Your subject matter, the nature of your content necessitates a certain level of ease with which you can continue to keep doing this at a high clip. I would put now, I don't know too much about Sheek Louch. In my opinion, Sheek Louch is the weak link of the Locks. That is my opinion. Yeah, I know. That is my opinion. Hey, man, I'll say it. I don't care. Just like, I'll say Joel Ortiz, in my opinion, is the weak link of Slaughterhouse. Yeah, so I don't know too much about Sheek Louch's individual discography, so I'm not going to ignorantly speak on it. But I do know about Styles P. And Styles P can perhaps speak on this, because if you listen to his last 2 albums, I think the penultimate one and then the one before that he put out, it was called Ghosting. He still does the street stuff, but he does it within the context of, I used to be doing this, but now my life is, I'm eating good, I'm smoking good, and I'm opening my juiceries and I'm making investments and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like that was a nice chunk of the Ghosting album with Styles P talking about his juicing and how he doesn't believe in vaccines and he's, and he used to be on that stuff, but now he's not on that stuff. So there's a certain level of evolution there to where I can take comments that he would make in that regard seriously. People like Sheek, again, I'm indifferent. I don't know Sheek's catalog. But Wayne, I don't get it. I don't get that. And LL Cool J, he's so far removed from being relevant that his opinion on it kind of doesn't count to me. So, my whole thing with these rappers who want to criticize his comments, this is just my personal opinion, but I feel as though they can be speaking from a place of insecurity, because they see a person like Andre who's not going to conform to the typical modern standards for what constitutes popularized rap in terms of what it takes for you to be able to maintain relevance in the game. Because we've touched on music topics in the past, and we know that there is a discernible difference between rap and hip hop. But current rap has been commodified and sold as a product, and it's been marketed as all of hip hop. We know that there's a difference between the two, but in terms of popularized music, it's current rap, which has been enveloped within the context of all of hip hop, and it's taken it over. And when we're talking about current rap, what gets popularized by the machine of the music industry is a particular kind of content. And to Andre 3000's point, that particular kind of content, if you're comfortable speaking in that tone, can carry you well into advanced age. But if you are an individual who has the type of sensibilities, who does not want to speak on that kind of content, because as you're getting older, you're far removed from directly identifying with that kind of lifestyle, it makes less and less sense for you to continue to make music. So you either have to figure out a way to evolve your current lifestyle with your sound in order to stay in the game and still be popping, Nas and Killer Mike, or you can decide to do something else. Either one of those options works for me, but what you can't do is continue to peddle the same garbage, even though you're not even though you're very far removed from doing those things in real life.
Mhm.
And what Andre 3000 has said is, I've drawn a line in the sand and I'm not going to continue to capitulate. Either I'm going to figure something else out, or I will just recuse myself from music in general. So I completely respect that, because he's not conforming, he's not capitulating, and he is following his own righteous path. And to me, there are direct parallels between Andre 3000 and the rest of the rap world and people like Drake and Kendrick, because I firmly can see a future in which 5 years from now, 6 years from now, Kendrick decides he's just going to retire and just be done with rap. Because the thing is, in order for you to receive the ample amount of inspiration and life experience that you need in order to feel impassioned to actually put something out into the world that you care about, it takes time for you to actually live and grow in life. But if you're sitting around making sewage all day like Drake, you can make an album a year.
Yeah.
Like if all you're gonna do is talk about women and strippers and women and tricking off on women and taking another rapper's woman and taking this rapper's baby mama and taking this rapper's wife and how much more money you got than the next person, and so that's why you're better. Like if that's all you're going to rap about, you can do that into perpetuity, because that's what popularized rap has mandated, that you can continue to stay in this game and be relevant if you're talking about this stuff all the time. 3000 is not cut from that cloth, just like Kendrick is not cut from that cloth. If they don't have the impassioned inspiration to do something, they'll either figure out a way to make it evolve or move on to something else. Right. And if they talk about that, who are you to criticize it? So what? If you're happy in your lane making your music, even though you're past 40, then keep doing it. But I think the reason why some of these rappers may take issue with 3000's comments is because they're sort of revealing their own insecurities. And they even know that it's goofy to still be rapping about this stuff, even though they're 45, 50 years old and they ain't been on a block or been in the streets in a very, very long time. So, you know, it's a pick your poison thing. But I think for 3 Stacks, his willfulness to not be a conformist is what is most gratifying to me about the way that he moves. And instead of criticizing him talking about this publicly, I think other rappers should follow suit and figure out a way to evolve their music to be age appropriate, as you like to say. Because until more of that happens, there's going to continue to be a lack of balance in terms of the representation of this music. And there's going to continue to be an exacerbation of the dynamic of people like Andre 3000 feeling as though he no longer has a place within the ecosystem of music.
Yeah, well said, man. And as far as the also well said on the Chic Luch take, because hey guys, I don't know if let's be honest, who's really a Chic fan right now? Like who like when they first came out, I was just a fan of the Locks, and you know Chic had verses in there, but then you know it was still like I was always looking forward to Data Kiss,
right?
And then Styles was like, yeah, you know, Styles and them, it was him and were in the same tier. Honestly, I think it was like after, you know, everything done, whatever, and the dust and settle, and Styles P started making mixtapes and doing his own thing. I was like, hey, this guy's cool.
I agree. Yeah, Styles really rose to me after the heyday of the Locks. Like after their heyday, when Styles became more of a solo guy, that's when I started to say, "Oh man, Styles is really good."
Yeah, Styles. So I'm a Styles fan. So every once in a while, it's not often, but every once in a while, I'll have a Styles P thing, and I'm just listening to a random song. And then I heard, you know, Lock stuff, and I was like, "Hey man, let me give Chic a try." Nah, man, what hit, man. I'm still a fan of him though, but he comes off to me as a rapper. And I think Styles P and Jadakiss, they come off a little bit more, you know, intellectual with it. I would say it like that, but for lack of better words. Yeah. But they're more brainy with it, and I like that. So, and I see what you mean as far as Styles P talking about things at, you know, age appropriate stuff. Because you know him talking about the juicing and all that stuff, and him used to be like, yeah, if you talk about street stuff, then it's like, hey, I used to, and I'm currently doing this though,
Yeah.
And if that's the transition, fine, bro. I'll give you a pass because you're talking to people and you're trying to reach people in the street and trying to get them to think another way. So that I see what the mission is there, and I commend that. Because on top of just making the music about it, he's actually in the community trying to get people into it. So that's also awesome too. So I love what Style P does. So and that's the part about his comments that are slightly surprising is that he wouldn't understand what Andre's trying to do. I know he gets it, but to ask of him to do that is like, come on, man, just let the man rock out, and let's see where this goes. And he'll drop it if he doesn't like it or whatever. But right now, I think the guy's enjoying it. And one thing that our community really needed was healing. Yeah. And we needed healing music, because right now our music is nothing but anthems for depravity and debauchery. And so that's the situation that we're in right now, because those 808s and those vibrations that come from the speaker and stuff like that, because you got to think our body move is like a wave. It's in waves, electromagnetic stuff going on. And when you listen to those 808s, those high spikes, those hi-hats and stuff like that, and it gets in line with your vibration, it speeds it up. And so people want to call this anxiety. You're getting it from the music. You're getting it from the beat. Not even the words. I didn't get to the words yet. So then on top of that, then you get to the words, and then, put your hands up, put them in the air. You're not doing that in your house. But when you hear that in the club and they say, put your arms up in the air, your arm will go up by command. And so at that point, you're following commands while intaking this vibration that's messing with your natural rhythm. So can we heal ourselves in a more anxious state? Or do we need some music that calms us down? And even if you don't listen to his album, at least support him in his journey on trying to heal people. So that's what I said. It's slightly selfish to say, hey, man, come down and start rapping too. It's like, hey, man, I think this guy's on a mission to do something else. And to show people there's another way to reach people. And for him to do the jazz thing or whatever, and having people out there camping out, going crazy out there just to hear him play the flute, it's awesome, powerful stuff, in my opinion. So I say keep rocking out with it. And just like how you said, what are y'all rapping about?
Yeah.
What are you rapping about? So in the context, like we mentioned with Styles P, and like you always talk about with Nas and stuff, even with Killer Mike and stuff like that, there's a way to rap in that bracket, and you're still doing something. Mm-hmm. But that, like how Andre mentioned, that braggadocio stuff, at some point, a grown man don't brag on himself like that no more. And that's the kid part of it. Don't sit around here and brag on yourself like that. Talk about some real stuff, but everything has to be a flex. Everything has to be, so yeah, I agree, man. So, Andre, continuing to walk the right path, man. And I think I mentioned this before, but everybody has their own path. This is Andre's, but, try to listen to yours and follow it, genuinely, and, be unapologetic about it.
Yes.
And that's what, Andre's doing. And that's why his avatar in this situation is the cool thing. Cause this is more than us just kicking it around on some, oh, hey, rappers are hating on Andre. That's a degree of it. But the main message here is walk your path.
Yes.
And despite your colleagues and everybody's going to come out at you and say, hey, man, you need to do what I'm used to you doing. Or you can keep it real with yourself. And then real people are going to recognize that and attach themselves to you. And in today's day and age, I think I would rather have a whole bunch of real people with me than a whole bunch of fake weirdos. So, yeah, man. So Andre, I think he's got a lot of real people with him, us included. And I think us conscious approachians, I think you guys are some Andre fans too. So shout out to y'all too, man.
Yeah, big facts, man. Conformity is a disease. I firmly believe that groupthink mentality and conformity is a disease. I respect principled people who don't conform. even if you look like me, but we have diametrically opposed views on things, but you feel strongly in those views and you walk that path in life, I got respect for that. What I don't have respect for is conformists, people who just do stuff because they think they are supposed to for whatever reason. It's ridiculous. And yeah, 3 Stacks is he's not a conformist, and I love him on the surface for that. There's obviously much deeper levels than that, but just on the surface, his refusal to be a conformist is something that I tremendously appreciate.
For sure.
And yeah, you raise a good point about vibrations and the power of music. I got a god brother who's a very prominent DJ. Shouts out to DJ Bo Weezy. And I used to tell him all the time, bro, you got superpowers because you're one of the only people I've ever seen. And by him, I meant like DJs who literally can make people do whatever he wants by speaking into a microphone. Yeah, you can see like some of them times when he used to be playing at them large parties at them clubs, he could have got on the microphone and been like, roll on the floor. And you better believe some of them people would have got on the floor and started rolling around.
No, for real.
Yeah, this stuff has that kind of power, man. I think people should just wake up and, listen to that little voice in their head and understand how not being a conformist is actually a good thing, not a bad thing.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Bo Weezy, man. He's a Tallahassee Hall of Famer, man.
Yeah, for sure. That guy, he is a superstar, boy. That boy is superstar. All right, and now we have fallout from the Olympics, and pretty much the Team USA basketball team has been a feel-good story for the most part, with the exception of a hyper fixation on Jayson Tatum's minutes. Jayson Tatum basically was relegated to being the odd man out on Team USA. Now, mind you, by odd man out, I mean of all of the players who got minutes, he got the least of them and provided the smallest contribution. But there was a guy on the team who played an even smaller role than Jayson Tatum, and that was Tyrese Halliburton. Halliburton got no minutes at all. He didn't get into any games during the actual tournament, during the medal games, but he kind of doesn't count because he didn't play. But with respect to Jayson Tatum, he did get minutes. However, they were very, what's the word? They were very measured. They were measured at best. He didn't really play very much. I think in the gold medal game, he played a total of 11 minutes, but overall his contribution was short, and he got several DNPs where he just didn't get into the game at all. And people are going crazy. People are going crazy because I guess the idea is he just won a championship, and he's seen as one of the best players in the league. He's seen as like a top 5 guy. And so how can somebody who was all NBA first team and an MVP candidate, and he just won a championship, be given such a reduced role on Team USA? And so we are going to talk about our thoughts on Jayson Tatum's reduced role on Team USA. So this says, report Jayson Tatum evaluated as 11th man for multiple games by Kerr USA coaches. Someone had to be the odd man out for Team USA in the 2024 Summer Olympics, and unfortunately for Boston Celtics star Jayson Tatum, that someone was him. Tatum appeared in 4 of the United States' 6 games in Paris, so that means he had 2 total DNPs. He didn't see the floor in the semifinal win over Serbia, and then logged just 11 minutes in the final game against France. On his Hoop Collective podcast, ESPN's Brian Windhorst laid out how tactical decisions for the U.S. are not being made based on NBA framework, but instead on a FIBA framework. To that end, head coach Steve Kerr determined a 10-man rotation worked best for the Olympics, and that meant diminishing Tatum's role. Steve Kerr decided he could play 10 guys. That's it, Windhorst said at the 43:05 mark. He tried to play 11 a little bit, and it didn't work. When he played 11, it didn't have good results. And their evaluation was that against Serbia, Jayson Tatum was the 11th man. Frankly, when they played against Brazil, Jayson Tatum was the 11th man. Windhorst added later, the Team USA coaching staff evaluated the roster and came to the conclusion those players in the rotation against Serbia were ahead of Tatum. Tatum's usage was a subplot throughout the United States run to a 5th straight Olympic gold medal. The 26-year-old is fresh off another All-NBA season and one in which he helped the Boston Celtics win a championship. He wound up playing the second fewest minutes of the United States. Again, the guy who played the fewest minutes was Halliburton, who didn't play at all. This continues to be the dilemma for USA basketball and whoever is coaching the team. The United States can't roll the ball out and coast on talent at the Olympics. Managing director Grant Hill and his coaching staff have to assemble a squad that works as a collective unit and then utilize a game plan to achieve the same goal. That inevitably risks pushing a star such as Tatum to the periphery. This summer, the process was complicated further by the fact Anthony Edwards and Tyrese Halliburton were the only holdovers from the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup. Whereas other countries typically have multiple tournaments to help define the roles for their players, the U.S. pretty much had to start from scratch for the Paris Games. Tatum declined to comment one way or the other regarding the 2028 Summer Olympics in Paris. It was a tough personal experience on the court, but I am not going to be making any decisions off emotions, he said, per The Athletic's Joe Varden. If you ask me right now if I was going to play in 2028, it is 4 years from now, and I would have to take time and think about that. So I'm not going to make any decision based off how this experience was or how I felt individually. Based on how this month unfolded, Tatum may want to get some assurances about his playing time before he makes a final decision about returning to the national team. So, based upon those quotes, it kind of seems like Tatum is going to be contemplating whether he's going to continue to play based on his reduced role. What do you make of Jayson Tatum being the 11th man on Team USA's roster?
I feel like you're playing with other all-stars, other all-NBA players, so somebody's going to get left out. I don't do the whole resume thing either, but at some point, it is a thing where it's like, this guy is, he is 6'9" with handles and can rebound and shoot a FIBA 3. This ain't NBA 3, this is a FIBA 3. So, he can do that. So why not let everybody get work? The reason why I don't think 11 people can work is because I don't think they played together, in a sense where they played together basketball. Because if they did play together basketball, selfless basketball, just rotate whoever catches it, whoever's open, and they score and nobody cares about stats, then all 11 people could have played. But there were still egos on the court. There were still people that wanted certain accolades at the end of it all, outside of the gold medal. And, some people had their own things going on. And so with all of those egos, Kerr's job was to manage all of them. And, Tatum's the most pushovery guy on the other bunch. Him and Halliburton, it was like, I don't have to play you guys for real. So that's what it pretty much boiled down to is, the guys with the smallest egos didn't get any minutes. And so I think that's pretty much what it boiled down to. I think people were trying to make other plots out of it, like, him versus the war, the Celtics versus them. And I was like, well, didn't the Warriors win? So why would Kerr give a damn? So I didn't see that angle. But I just think it's a matter of, we got to be out here and we got to keep these guys involved. And I don't want to hear certain mouths or certain agents or certain whatever. So these people got priority. We're going to make that work. And so whatever cockamamie excuse that they're going to use or did use for why they couldn't play somebody is ridiculous. They should have even let Halliburton get minutes. I mean, hell, if we're up by 30, who gives a damn about 11th man?
But that's the thing, though.
We weren't.
Outside of only a couple games, they were never up by a whole lot.
But that's what I'm saying. And so for those couple games, let those guys get some burn.
Yeah, give them some burn.
Yeah. So we don't have to hear narratives later. So now what's going on with all of this sports media stuff is that there's all types of narratives floating around. And if I was Jayson Tatum, I would feel some type of way about it. I feel like, what was that about? And but hey, be that as it may, I really think it was just a matter of ego pleasing for the people that actually did get minutes. I can't really buy the matchup thing. This is the last thing I say. I can't really buy the matchup thing because we should dominate in all facets. And if we're playing together team basketball, none of these games should have been close. And so, but there's other things going on, and they're not playing together all the time. So there's these dynamics that needs to be appeased. And Tatum can be left off on the scrap heap, and which he was. But what are your thoughts, sir, on Jayson Tatum being the 11th guy, and for some reason, Team USA can't find a way to play all 12 of these dudes? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So let's do a thought experiment real quick. So I'm gonna list off the roster, and you tell me if you think this player is and you tell me if you think that guy is better than Tatum or not. And of course, we're talking not just skills, but also approach to playing the game.
Okay.
So
hey, all right.
not just physical measurables and skill sets, but just the way they play. Okay. So taking all that into account, who do you think is better, Tatum or Bam?
Bam.
Okay. I would argue Tatum is better, but that's the point of me asking you these questions. Who do you think is better, Tatum or Devin Booker?
Tatum.
I would go Devin Booker. Who do you think is better, Tatum or Curry?
Curry.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Tatum or Anthony Davis?
Anthony Davis.
Yes. Tatum or Kevin Durant?
Durant.
Yes. Tatum or Anthony Edwards?
Tatum.
I would go Edwards. Tatum or Joel Embiid?
Yuck. I don't like Embiid's game. Tatum.
I go Tatum as well. And plus, Embiid is guaranteed 100% going to get hurt. Not reliable, so I go Tatum on that. Tyrese Halliburton.
Tatum.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Tatum or Drew Holiday?
Holiday.
Tatum or LeBron?
Yuck. LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, bro. LeBron's better. Tatum or Derek White?
I know what people gonna say, but I think Derek White's a better basketball player than Jayson Tatum is.
That is a controversial statement, indeed.
I know people are gonna be like, "What are you talking about?"
That is controversial.
I think Derek White's better at basketball. I said it. Yes.
Okay, so and it's good that you contextualize it that way. I would say Tatum is. I would say Tatum is better than Derek White. However, if we are contextualizing it within the parameters of fit and one's approach to playing, it's difficult. But in a vacuum, I'm not going to be that disrespectful. Tatum is better than Derek White. So as I look down this roster, I say to myself, Derek White 1, Drew Holiday 2, Halliburton, Embiid, that's 4. I only have 4 people on this team who I say Tatum is better than. So that leads me to my conclusion that I do think that this was a basketball decision. Like, the narrative thing is a part of the media machine, and that's what the media is going to do. But I genuinely feel like there's this weird thing with Tatum. Like, I've said this before, I get it. And, the lazy thing to do is the thing that the people on these shows are doing, which is he's all NBA first team. He should play. Okay, that's a very simplistic way of looking at it that has no nuance whatsoever. If you want to go that, if you want to make it that simplified based upon accomplishments, then fine. Everybody needs to get minutes. Halliburton was all NBA as well. So what difference does that make? But that's what these people on these shows do, is they bring up their NBA individual achievements and they say that's why he should play. But I think from a basketball standpoint, I wasn't offended by it because I look at the way Tatum plays personally. And this is why I said Jaylen Brown would have been a better fit than Tatum, even though Tatum wasn't the one being left off the team. It was Kawhi. But I said if it was about fit, replace Kawhi with Jaylen Brown. And I feel like had that happened, Jaylen Brown would have been getting more minutes than Tatum too, because the way Brown plays is fundamentally different than the way Tatum plays.
Mhm.
I don't know, man. Like, I don't see Tatum the way the media sees him. I think that he is individually gifted tremendously. But I think his approach to playing makes it difficult sometimes for you to slot him in certain scenarios. And I'm going to bring up a quote from Charles Barkley because it, for me, crystallizes it. Charles Barkley said, one of the measures of a great player is their ability to be able to generate easy baskets, not just for themselves, but also for their teammates. With Jayson Tatum, everything is one-on-one, and it's difficult. Whenever I used to watch the Celtics play, Jayson Tatum was always a lot of dribbles and high degree of difficulty jump shots, side steps, step backs, threes. He rarely plays without the ball in his hands. If he gives the ball up, he's a statue. And one thing that I will give credit to LeBron for, LeBron don't play without the ball. Even though LeBron is a high usage player, if LeBron doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's going to be setting screens. He's going to be getting cuts. He's going to be boxing out. He's going to be getting offensive rebounds. He's going to be doing that stuff. Whether you like it or not, he's going to be doing these things. LeBron is able to generate easy points for himself. Layups, dunks, everything isn't a turnaround, fadeaway, off-balance three-pointer.
Agreed.
And with Jayson Tatum, Jayson Tatum to me is the personification of modern basketball. Highly specialized skills. He can do all the drills. He can run through all the cones. He can do all of the dribble moves. He can do all of the side steps. He can do all of that. But if you put him into a game and just have him play basketball fundamentally, it can be difficult. Now, fortunately for him, he plays for an organization in the Celtics that is very well run. So they know how to put together a roster that can utilize what he does best and still be successful and not be hindered by his horrible shot selection and his overall approach to playing basketball, particularly on the offensive side. And I'll give him credit. On defense, he applies himself. He'll get in the dirt and he'll go Paul George style and play decent enough perimeter defense. But on an offensive team with other good players who are fundamentally sound and can play off ball and get easy points for themselves and others, he may be the odd person out. It made total sense to me. To me, it made sense. Based on how I view basketball, him not getting a lot of burn made sense. Because if you're in a tight game, you can't rely on putting him out there. And when you give him the ball, he's going to do one of his dribble moves and do a fadeaway or a step back three. Like, you need easy points. So you're going to need somebody like KD out there and LeBron and Steph who are much more proficient than him at shooting and furthermore know how to move around the court and move bodies around to where if you catch them in a pocket, they're open and they're going to hit the three, as opposed to Tatum, who doesn't really catch the ball in a pocket. He's more of I have the ball in my spot and I'm going to just do some stuff and just do a move, and now I'm in the air taking a difficult jump shot. That's his game. So I feel like until he figures out a way, am I wrong? Like I feel as though until Tatum figures out how to make the game easier for himself, he's going to find himself in situations like this, getting less burn than other players on the team. You know, and NBA is different than international competition. It's like an all-star team, except the games count. So, like, you can't just be out there doing that stuff because for every turnover and bad shot, it's going to matter when the ball's going the other way and the team is getting an easy point, a three or a layup or a dunk because they were able to shoot to because they were able to go to their end of the floor on a fast break because they got a long rebound off of your bad, jump shot attempt. So the conspiracies are going to run rampant, and the talk shows are going to do the lazy thing where they just say, because he's done this, he should get more minutes. But from a basketball standpoint, to me, it made sense.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, that's good take. I mean, I think for me, it's more politics. I think it was more politics on top of basketball, but I think it was more political. I mean, I get the Anthony Edwards stuff. I get it. But Tatum's more experienced. And so and Tatum can just do what Anthony Edwards was doing. And Anthony Edwards was taking his bad shot selection shots. You know, some of them go in, but other ones wouldn't, and he just still pulling up anyway. So much so they would just take him out of the game. It was all right. Bro.
In the gold medal game, his minutes weren't that high either.
No, but what I'm getting at is you got a roster full of guys. So you know, let these guys go out there and put in work. You gotta really think. If we really went 12 deep, you know, because these people didn't stand a chance anyway. But if we went in a certain way and played and attacked them, we've got waves and waves of talent. And the way that they were doing it, to me, the whole thing was just, it was bad. It was bad everything. I didn't like how any of it went down. You know, so much so there was so many close games. And during the one with France, France ain't even like that. I'm trying to figure out why they still around. And then, you know, and Steph had to go, you know, Steph, even though the game was still in hand while he's doing this, he still went crazy. And, you know, it looks like it was needed because they was within 3. So why? So it was certain parts of that game. I'm like, what is this? So to me, it was bad basketball. It was bad. It was poorly played basketball. I think Tatum, he plays bad basketball too. I think they have a bad. I think the Celtics play a bad form of basketball, and Holiday and Derek White compensates for that, and they clean up a lot of that mess. And so that's why I say Derek White's better at basketball. That's why I think why Derek White get minutes. I wasn't surprised. He's getting more minutes than Tatum. Yeah, he's better at basketball. He knows if you're better at basketball, you can fit in any scenario. I don't think Anthony Edwards can fit in any scenario. I think Tatum can fit in any scenario better than Anthony Edwards right now. I think right now Anthony Edwards he's a very talented young man, but I think there's too much hype surrounding him, and I think he's believing a lot of it. I still need to see more actions before I see anything else. I think his reputation precedes him. But I'm sitting there watching him take bad shots. So he's got it in him. He just needs to get better and more refined. And I think Tatum's a more refined athlete. So if we're out there and we're competing, we're putting top against top, you know, against the world or whatever, I want the guy that's 6'9" that can shoot a 3 while open. Just tell him shoot while he's open. Coach. So you got Spoelstra, you know, that's my dog. Or you got Lua, what's his name? Tyronn Lue. Yeah, Ty Lue. Oh, yeah. I don't know why Ty Lue's such a good coach, but there he is on the bench. You know, we saw how Steve Kerr coaches. Steph Curry saves his ass. So, you know, I don't really believe that Steve Kerr's really a good coach, you know. And so I think he's overhyped. I think the best coach on that bench was Spoelstra, but it wasn't his show. So I really think it was bad basketball overall, all the way around. I think it could have made sense to play him. I would have found a way to play all 12 of these dudes. I think a lot of people would have. And that's if you coach these jerks. Now, if they don't want to be coached while we're there, you know, then you're going to find you behind on the bench and not playing. So who knows what went on behind closed doors or whatever. But I think it was just, again, I think it was a situation of got to give Embiid his minutes because, you know, got to give, you know, this guy his minutes because, you know, and I think it was a lot of that. But, you know, who knows? But maybe the chemistry didn't work on the court with all of them together. Because I agree, man. Tatum takes some bad shots, dude. I bank on it. You know, as a Heat fan, while we're playing against them, get a ball to Tatum. Yeah, get it. But as just an irritant of him just being able to run up and down the court, get these loose ball rebounds, play that defense as you mentioned, that does serve a purpose if he just did that. So I think you know, it could have happened, but who knows, man. I just think that was overall. I blame that whole Olympics thing on coaching and the guys not knowing how to play real basketball, and the world knows how to play basketball so much so that it's like a tortoise and a hare thing, where they're slow and steady, damn near about to win the race. And we are super this, super that, and being so arrogant, and we're about to get passed up by the consistent, steady, fundamental people. So hey, man, if it wasn't this year, it'll definitely be within the next 8 that we're going to be back at bronze or silver if we keep messing around like this. So yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, no, we're definitely going to be back at that point because the great players who play all around basketball are going to retire, and we're going to be left with AAU basketball players. Like if you think about it, this current, like the current generation of all timers, once they retire, we're going to be fully entrusted into the era of the one-on-one skill guys.
Yeah.
Once LeBron is gone and Curry and KD and people like this, like once those people all retire, it's gonna be the AAU show where it's not really, your approach to playing isn't really fundamentals and just a holistic way of looking at playing the game, in which I can still be effective off the ball. And there's a lot of things that I can do to generate easy baskets for myself, even if I don't have the ball in my hands. That's the element that's been lost in all this, in the emergence of a hyperfixation on developing all of these ball skills. And so, yeah, once these people are gone, it is going to be tough because internationally, they train people to play basketball holistically. Here in the States, they do drills and ball skills. And pretty much the only way that we can have a guy who is a good defensive player is if that person wants to be a good defensive player and if they have the physical attributes to be a good defensive player, because no one even cares about training players on how to play defense. It's just all offense and ball skills and how to be able to shoot in different angles and different spots and positions. And, I hear what you're saying about some of these guys like Anthony Edwards. To me, when I watch both of them play, they both may take some questionable shots, but Tatum to me is just the poster child for AAU bad shot taking. It's just nothing but fadeaways and step back threes and side steps after 10 dribbles. Like, it's James Harden, but better because he's taller and longer.
I agree with that.
And with Anthony Edwards, at least I'm gonna get better defense, and I'm gonna get somebody who, if Anthony Edwards gives up the ball, I might get Anthony Edwards on a down screen where he can catch the ball on a lob, or maybe he'll get a rebound and a putback, or he'll get a dunk on the baseline or something where he was able to get an easy basket for himself that didn't involve him being a usage guy with the ball in his hands for the shot clock.
That's fair.
Whereas when I watch the Celtics play, every time Tatum gives the ball up, he just stands on the perimeter and doesn't do anything. It's like the only time he's activated is if he has the ball and he can do his AAU stuff. And so I just think within the context of Olympic play, where you can't succeed in that way, you have to minimize guys who play like that. It just is what it is. But I hear you, and I hear you on Embiid too. If there's one guy who did get a lot of burn, who I felt Tatum could get more burn than, it wasn't Anthony Edwards. To me, it would have been Embiid, because I'm like, Embiid he's always hurt, and he refuses to take advantage of his size. He'd rather be a guy who's shooting jumpers like Tatum. When you can, in Olympic basketball, you can more easily be able to take advantage of that size in the paint. He'd get down there and mix it up every now and again, but for the most part, he wanted to face up, do his dribbles, put you on his back, and then do a turnaround or a fadeaway.
Can't stand it. Can't stand it. It's ugly basketball, dude. I cannot stand it.
Yeah, I just think, like, if you look at the rundown of the minutes real quick, and this is the last thing I'll say. In the gold medal game, KD got 31 minutes. LeBron got 32. Devin Booker got 28. Curry got 30. And then Anthony Davis off the bench got 20. In my opinion, those guys, to me, are the best at playing all-around basketball on the team. It just is what it is. And like people like Drew Holiday and Derek White, they also play great all-around basketball, but their physicality. There's such a gap between their physicality and those other guys that it's understandable how their minutes went down, and Kerr pretty much just stuck with those other big guns. But you can say what you want about LeBron and KD, but they play smart basketball. They're weird and they have their quirks or whatever, but when they get on the court, one thing about KD, bro, KD can put it up and affect the game, and he don't need the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's going to do what he does and get out there and fill in his spots. He don't need the ball. LeBron is a high usage guy, but he going to get it to his guys, his shooters. And if he doesn't have the ball, he's going to, take charges, play defense, get cuts. And Steph is going to run around, catch and shoot. He might have to dribble a little bit and save the day, but for the most part, he can be effective. All those guys is what I'm saying is they can be effective without the ball. And to me, a key signifier in a great player is their ability to be able to impact the game without being usage, without needing the ball all the time. And Tatum is not that. So to me, it made sense why he didn't play.
I agree. Hey, listen, I ain't around here. I ain't upset about it, but I'm not, because I think he plays. I agree. I think he plays a bad brand of basketball, and we didn't need that on the floor when the ball needs to be moving around. But what I'm getting at is the ball will still get stiff at times, and guys will still be doing their thing, and that was irritating me. So one thing I couldn't afford is to have another one of them out there. So I get that, So, but my argument was, what's the difference between him and Anthony Edwards at times? And so for me, I think it was just more for the Anthony Edwards machine building for him, because I don't think he should have been getting as many minutes as he was getting. I think he's good, but I don't think he's up there yet, And so give him 2-3 years, but he can. This was great experience for him. This was good stuff for him. So hopefully he can take this and do whatever. But I still think he's not there yet. You put the fork in there, and still a little bit more batter on there. You put it back in the oven. This guy needs to go a little bit more in there, and then he'll be ready. Yeah. But last thing I'll say is the FIBA refs. So the NBA needs to do what the FIBA referees are doing and let those guys play. I couldn't believe, I was laughing so hard when Anthony Davis would be on the ground. Hey man, the ball's already at half court, bro. Get your ass up. And then you have to get up. And then there'd be times where some of these guys will get hit, and their natural thing will come up, but then they'll naturally run down court. Eventually, it'll get rid of all that goofy behavior of these guys crying and complaining when the ball's already moving down. So when we talked about, because it was, I don't know how many times we talked about basketball, but there's been times where I done brought up, watching college basketball, in the tournament and stuff, and I'm seeing that the referees are letting things go. Yeah. So it's a more physical brand of basketball, and it makes it more entertaining. And I'm shocked, and the world was shocked when the WNBA was playing physical. So the big bad wolf, the most athletic, the most, whatever basketball league in the world, they're playing the softest brand of it, which now makes sense when you see these AAU type guys. But I tell you this, let those AAU guys hoop the way they should, and then they'll get a little hard around the edge, and it'll make it a lot more entertaining. Then you'll see guys. Go ahead.
They have to be taught, though. That's the thing. They got to be taught to play that way. They're coming up. They're being taught to play soft. Like they're being taught to play like that, so they don't know any better. That's they need to. The way that this country looks at training basketball players needs to fundamentally change, in my opinion. Or it doesn't. Maybe I don't make the rules, so maybe it doesn't need to change. But that's all you're gonna see is more of this. You're gonna in 5 years, there's gonna be an NBA full of Jayson Tatum, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander type players. The league, that's what it's going to be. That's where we're headed towards, and the media is going to defend it because they're going to say, "Oh my God, the league is so skilled now." But to each their own. But that's what we're going to have in the next 5 years. No defense, all one-on-one basketball. It's going to be dribbling through cones, but in a regulation game. That's what's going to happen in the next 5 years.
Amen.
So
Have fun, guys. Hey man, so long as I can bet the over or the under, have at it, man.
Yeah. Good luck to Jayson Tatum, man. Just the thing is, those guys are probably, who knows, LeBron and Curry, they might be retired in the next 4 years. At that point, Jayson Tatum will by default be like the best player or one of the best players. And so he'll be on there because who's going to take his minutes away at that point?
Hey,
So.
you'd be surprised. If Kurt coaching, who knows?
Yeah. Now we got Noah Lyles, who's being clowned
Lord have
for partying in Paris after the closing ceremony of the Olympics, despite being carted off of the field of play in a wheelchair for his last event. And some people are saying, this is basically a troll job right here. Noah Lyles is being trolled because, he tried to do his Willis Reed impression where he's limping off the court, all hurt and beat up because he has a positive COVID, test. And then he, is back partying and having a good time, even though by all appearances it looked like he may have been compromised in terms of his health. And so people are kind of clowning him for this, like, how's bro out here partying days after he was wheeled out of here, because it looked, kind of grim for him a little bit. So this says social media reacts to Noah Lyles partying in Paris after COVID diagnosis. Although the Olympics have concluded, Noah Lyles is still facing scrutiny. The U.S. track sensation was spotted enjoying himself in Paris just a few days after testing positive for COVID. However, Noah insists that the situation is being blown out of proportion. The 100-meter gold medalist claims he has been free of the virus since Friday. Lyles was seen at L'Arc or L'Arc. I don't know if there's a fancy Parisian way of saying that. Was seen at L'Arc, Paris, following the closing ceremony on Sunday, just 5 days after his COVID-19 positive test, which he disclosed occurred early Tuesday morning. He appeared to be having a great time in the City of Lights, dancing to a Pop Smoke song while wrapped in an American flag. Nevertheless, some fans on social media criticized the 27-year-old for choosing to go to the club, expressing confusion over how he transitioned from needing a wheelchair on the track just days earlier to dancing at a Paris nightclub on Sunday. So here is the video in question with Noah Lyles doing his thing.
Sure. Ooh.
All right, there's no need to pay the whole thing. You get the point. No need to play that whole thing. And then here's some people on Twitter commenting, Noah Lyles didn't have COVID when he won the 100-meter, but suddenly did when he lost the 200-meter. Now he's in the club dancing, laughing my ass off. I'm crying. This is American sprinter Noah Lyles. Just a few days ago, he allegedly had COVID and was even taken off in a wheelchair at the Olympics. Talk about a quick recovery. I thought Noah Lyles had COVID. So he's just being here. As we previously reported, Noah Lyles, the reigning 100-meter Olympic champion, faced an uphill battle in the men's 200-meter final at the Paris 2024 Games. Despite a strong start and smooth bend, Lyles struggled to keep up with Lestile Tobago of Botswana, who surged ahead in the last 50 meters to clinch victory with a time of 19.46. Kenneth Bednarek, Lyles' fellow American teammate, made a sudden push toward the end and secured the silver medal, pushing Lyles into third place. Following the race, the 27-year-old athlete was seen seated in a chair and subsequently taken off the track on a wheeled chair, raising concerns about his physical condition. Shortly after the race, the U.S. track and field team announced that the bronze medalist had competed in the event despite testing positive for the CV. So, get trolled for this. What do you make of this reaction towards Noah Lyles partying in Paris once the Olympics were over, despite being carted off in a wheelchair and the positive test for the CV?
I mean, I agree with the masses right now with confusion, disgust, humor. uh, about this whole matter. Because when I heard that he lost, and I was like, okay, or came in third, and I was like, oh, okay, well, whatever. And then it was like, oh no, but he's all out on the track. So I was like, ain't no way. So I look at the video, and yeah, man, the guy's laid out all on the track, huffing and puffing. And it was like, oh yeah, oh, he's got COVID. And I was like, what? So my first thing was, okay, I didn't want to deny this man. I don't want to deny this man his traumas if he's really going through something, because illness is a real thing. But at the same time, I was like, that's hella convenient. But my biggest problem about it was, okay, well, if he tested positive 2 days ago, why in the hell is he out here running against with other people, super spreading? I mean, that whole stadium could have been compromised. And then it would have been the no allows Olympics. Yeah, bro. It would have been, you know what I'm saying? It would have been COVID Laos. But now, man, he would have been the Rudy Gobert of it. But to me, this doesn't look well. And I don't know what strand he had. He must have had the Paris version, the one that's just a 24-hour bug. Right, I don't know what kind of strand he was on, but that must have been what happened there. But for him to be caught dancing in a club, I'm scrolling on social media and here he goes, and I'm like, well, either there's one or two things here. Either he's lying and has been lying, or he's super spreading again. In any event, this is bad. I would say PR for this guy. And so, at least to me, a lot of people are probably not even going to care 3-4 years down the line. But I know one thing I don't want to see is how brave he was later on with some footage. But it's going to be. They're going to play this clip of him laying out like he gave it his all, even while he had COVID. And I was like, okay, y'all going to play the part where he was dancing 2 days later? Or dancing 5 minutes before he fell on the ground? Y'all going to play that too? But they're not. So to me, this whole thing is a little fishy to me. It's a little Noah lousy. You know what I'm saying? And I said, you know what? I'm not surprised that a man that paints his nails does this. So yeah, man, if you were surprised at that point, then, shame on you. But what are your thoughts, man, on Noah Lyles caught partying just a few days after testing positive for the CV?
Yeah, Noah Lyles needs to hit up Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce better.
Yeah.
Paul Pierce, left on a wheelchair. Everybody thought that he was broken and paralyzed. He comes back into the game in the playoffs, and all of a sudden he's miraculously healed, and the Celtics win the game. Noah Lyles needs to hit up Paul Pierce for best practices on how to most effectively get carted out of the field of play. Without having to come back and be egg in your face. The only thing that I have to say about this is trolls beget trolls. This is trolling begetting trolling at its finest. I don't think the reaction to anything that Noah Lyles does, much less this particular story, would be as strong as it is if he did not make a name for himself trolling others in their respective field of play. This is coming from somebody who defended Noah Lyles when he tried to draw a distinction between world champion and NBA champion. I was actually one of the people who was on Noah Lyles' side and agreeing with him in that regard. Be that as it may, if you lean into it and continue to troll people with your stance on this, you best believe that at some point in the future, if anything is making you look bad, people are going to be trolling you. So this is trolls begetting trolls, and he's kind of getting his just desserts because, it's a situation where you could have just left it at the way you could have just left it at one comment here or there talking about world champs, non-world champs, and all of these various stances on that you have. But you took every opportunity that you had to speak on it whenever asked the question, and you'd lean into it and you would troll NBA players and various other sports. to the point where you had other professional athletes saying, hey, bro, we never came for you, so why are you coming for us? And that's going to feed into the frenzy of other people on the internet coming for you whenever you have egg on your face. So whether he cares or not that he's being made to look embarrassed by this, I don't know the guy. So for all I know, maybe he doesn't care. But in the event that he does care, this is a lesson in how to effectively know how to just let sleeping dogs lie and not lean into your troll job. Because the second that you are made to look embarrassing, it is going to be compounded upon. And at that point, you'll have nobody to blame but yourself.
Yeah, 100, man. This is kind of in that same lane of we were talking about Doja Cat, and people started, her fans were getting at her or about her hair, but it's just like, you got some of these fans through making racial jokes, so why not make them with you? So yeah, man, this guy, for whatever reason, because when we covered that situation, man, I think I still dunked on him there.
Yeah, you did.
Because I think I agree with the premise of it. I agree with the premise of it, but I didn't like his attitude or how he came about with it. I felt as though it was some pent up weird.
He was dismissive. He was dismissive. Yeah. And he was very dismissive.
It comes off real. I have a problem with, the jocks. And it's like, bro, just calm down, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it's like he got stuffed in a locker kind of thing. It's the cop that's out around here over copping it. So it's just like, yeah, all right, you got something on your shoulder with these basketball players. Apparently, there's some rigmarole going on right now with him and Anthony Edwards, because Anthony Edwards invited him to a thing, and he was like, I don't want to go. Who are you?
Yeah,
I was like, what are you doing? So the time that you get a chance to break bread with the NBA and make amends, you know what I'm saying, Olympia to Olympian, you still want to take this weird stance. But again, when we're dealing with this guy, I mean, he expresses himself how he does. One thing that that Wade said about painting his nails, that it was a form of expression. And so he's got to express himself externally with these nails and barrettes and beads in his hair. So he has something to get off his chest. So go ahead, Mr. Lyles, be brave and paint your nails, bro. I can't stand this stuff, man. Hey, man, but yeah. Antics, shenanigans from a shenanigans of a person, if you ask me, man. This guy, he's always up to something. So I felt bad for him while he laid on the track. I was like, because hey, bro, I had that thing. And one thing about it, if I just had ran a 200 while I had that, I'd be on the ground too, wheezing and stuff. So I was like, hey, man, that stuff ain't funny or whatever. But for him to be there 3 days later, I don't know how serious I should have taken that. And so again, for him to even be doing stuff like this, nobody else is, and that's the weird part. Yeah. So somebody, don't get out here. No. Oh, he's just being him. Man. Nobody else is doing this, And this is, like you said, this is really trolly. So, well said. Trolls be getting trolls, and yeah, bro. So I'm here to troll. So,
I hear that.
I'm from Mr. Lyles.
Yeah. Everybody's an attention seeker, and that to me is the weird part. Everybody just has to be in attention. Everybody has to engage in attention-seeking behavior. Man, woman, young, old, everything in between. It just doesn't seem to matter. The behavior of the day is, how can I parlay anything that might happen to me into an attention-seeking opportunity? It doesn't appeal to me. I think it's weird, but hey, man. There's a lot that I think is weird, and there's nothing that I can do about it. But people just engage in attention-seeking behavior, man. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Narcissism has become an acceptable form of behavior in today's world. If you're not being a narcissist, then you are being the weirdo. It's actually weird. I don't know if you knew this, but nowadays it's actually weird to not be a narcissist.
Yeah. How about that?
being a narcissist is to be normal nowadays. So when he's doing stuff like this, being carted off the field or the court or the track, he's got to be in a wheelchair. Then he's on his social media doing all of this stuff, dancing. This is just more attention-seeking behavior, and I just think it's here to stay, despite how weird I find it to be.
Hey, keep being brave, Noah. Keep being brave, bro.
Oh man. Now we got the disgraced break dancer.
Yeah.
Break dancer. This woman here, in case anyone is not aware, this woman's name is Rachel Gunn, and she is being roasted, lambasted. It's a barn burner on this woman right now because of her less than stellar performance at the Olympics in the breakdancing competition. And point of order, real quick, for anyone who has not followed this particular story, the Olympic Committee has decided that breakdancing will not be a part of the Olympics in 2028. So I don't know if this was like some kind of a trial thing that they were doing with this to determine whether it was something that they wanted to keep going. But it's not coming back, or at least it won't be back for the next Olympics. So for anybody out there who got a kick out of this and was hoping that we'd have breakdancing in the next Summer Games, sorry, but it won't be here. But this woman from Australia, Rachel Gunn, is being just, completely roasted because she competed in the breakdancing at the Olympics and it just didn't go well. So this says Olympic breakdance response to backlash from viral performance. The 2024 Olympics were very special for a lot of reasons, including the debut of one of hip-hop staples, breakdancing, as an event. While the decision to omit it from the 2028 games is a sad one, it might make sense to some casual consumers thanks to one particular B-girl this year. One of Australia's representatives, Rachel Gunn, a.k.a. Ray Gunn, lost all three of her one-on-one contests with a total tally of 54-0. But more than the loss itself, the online reaction to her performances was so mocking, disgusting, and critical that she spoke to ESPN about it. What I wanted was to come out here and do something new and different and creative, Ray Gunn expressed. That's my strength, my creativity. I was never going to beat these girls on what they do best, the dynamic and the power moves. So I wanted to move differently, be artistic and creative, because how many chances do you get in a lifetime to do that on an international stage? Compared to other Olympic happenings, this was a pretty controversial moment overall, especially for the hip hop community. I love Rachel, and I think that what has occurred on social media with trolls and keyboard warriors and taking those comments and giving them airtime has been really disappointing. The Australia team's chef de mission, Anna Mears, said of Ray Gunn's performance, which Snoop Dogg witnessed along with everything else at the games. Ray Gunn is an absolutely loved member of this Olympic team. She has represented the Olympic team, the Olympic spirit, with great enthusiasm, and I absolutely love her courage. I love her character, and I feel very disappointed for her that she has come under the attack that she has. Meanwhile, breakdancing continues to define a lot of hip-hop culture, and they still celebrate it as an integral part of the art form and community. Sure, it doesn't have the same relevance and presence it used to have, but rappers like Common still get teased for their b-boy moves every once in a while. It looks like the Olympics won't be the one carrying the torch for the culture on a grand global scale. So let's find the next big breakdancing moment. Let Ray Gunn redeem herself and her art and give more shine to the culture that birthed this tradition and the cultures that appreciate and respect it skillfully and tastefully. So here is me clicking into this. Yeah. So I'm only going to play one of these so that for anybody who has not seen this, but I'm pretty sure if you've been following the Olympics on social media, you've probably already seen this. But for anybody who has not seen this, here's a brief clip of Ray Gunn competing here. So let me close this. And then I'm gonna share another tab. I'm only gonna play one of these. It gives you the right idea. So there's no need to play more than one.
Can it blow up?
There we
There you
go.
go.
All right, here we go.
This Ray Gun right here?
This is Ray Gun. Yeah.
Yo, shout out to B Girl Ray Gun. Yes. Oh shoot. What? Hey, that was kind of clean though. That spin was kind of clean. No.
Yeah, but what is that?
Yeah. Hysterical.
All right, so that wasn't an actual Olympic footage. That was somebody who was recording it and laughing at it, and that's one of the clips that went viral of Ray Gun there doing her thing, and that's her spin, her take on breakdancing. That was her routine.
Holy moly, man.
Wasn't very well received. Well, I don't think people are mad at her, but she's certainly getting laughed at. Yeah. And a lot of people are coming to her defense because the troll job that is commencing towards her, some people think is a bit heavy-handed. But what do you make of Ray Gun's performance and the reaction afterwards?
I think it's all in good fun and in good spirits. The trolling, that is. I haven't seen anything nasty. I mean, of course, if it's you and you're looking at this, of course you'll think that these are nasty things, but you knew what you was doing when you got up there. And she even said it herself that she knew she really couldn't compete with them and their moves and their athleticisms. And so she was going to go out there and give her own take on what breaking actually is. And so she was hoping that her true character would shine through. Unfortunately, the judge didn't think so. All right. So I heard she didn't score anything. And that's rightfully so, because I gotta keep it 100. Now I gotta actually talk to some actual B-boys and B-girls about this to see how they really feel about this thing. Because as I'm watching this, you only seen like a handful of clips where some of these people were going at it, and I was like, hey, this person really know what they're doing. Now, when I imagine, the Olympics having breakdancing, this is what I imagine, some high-end stuff. But then I kept seeing too many clips of people crawling on the ground, like this young lady was doing. So I didn't know what to really make of this, to be honest. But one way you can make yourself an international sensation and honestly get paid for the rest of her life, because I wouldn't be surprised if I see an NFL commercial this year or a Super Bowl commercial with our girl Ray Gun here trying to sell us some car insurance or some Chipotle. So I would not be surprised, because I know I would hire her and have her rolling around on the ground for a check, and she'll do it. So I think this was like a real lighthearted thing. I think the world needed this laugh, and I appreciate Ray Gun for actually providing me with some solid ones, because I really got a good laugh out of this. I didn't even need to see memes. As soon as I saw the footage itself, I was on the ground. But what are your thoughts, man, on Ray Gun out there tearing it up at the Olympics? You feel as though the criticism is necessary, or you feel like the trolling is all in good fun?
I think it's all in good fun too, but I also do think that there is somewhat of a grander indication behind it. So let me ask you real quick: do you think if Ray Gun was black, do you think that she'd be getting trolled as hard as she is if she was black and did just as bad? So like, let's say she did just as bad, but she wasn't Australian, right? She was like a black person. No. Do you think the trolling would be as hard?
No, it would be harder. I think because the black girl, she's going to get scolded for not representing. So at that point, people are really going to tear into her So
you're saying you're saying it would be more serious. Like,
yeah, I mean they'll still make fun of her. She'll be a meme now, but there'll be these people that are getting at her like, why her? I got somebody around the street that can do stuff, and so it was going to be that, and it was going to get at her as a person.
right.
And so I think this came off as white girl at the cookout going crazy and all the black people just jeering her along.
Yeah.
And this is like, oh, go ahead, girl. And that's what she was doing. So
I agree. See, I actually think the opposite. I think that if she were black, I don't think she'd be getting trolled as hard because it would be perceived as a black person took a form of black art on a global stage at the Olympics. And yeah, it didn't turn out as well, but it's okay. At least we got a chance to showcase what we can do to the world, and maybe we can do it in the future and blah, blah, blah. Like if anybody tried to troll her at that point, there would be a lot of people who were coming to her defense and saying, stop trolling, stop coming for her so hard because this is the first time this event has been here. And this was the first time that we did it. And so we'll be back and all of this other stuff. That's what I think the reaction would have been. But I agree. I think that this is jeering that is taking place because it's just funny to make fun of the non-black person who is trying to, in some way, shape, or form, appropriate a particular aspect of an art form that was largely popularized by black people. So I think that's what makes it, I think it's acceptable trolling because people are we all understand that it's like socially acceptable to make fun of people within that context. So I don't think that this is going to be anything that is looked at seriously or super negatively. It is more so of we're all making fun of the white rapper who can't rap, or we're all making fun of the white breakdancer who can't really breakdance, or any one of these things. It's making fun of the white person who's doing the electric slide. It's one of those situations where, so long as the appropriation is taking place with a white person trying to do what black people do, if it's a poor job of it, it's okay to jeer it. But if it's the other way around, it's more of a somber moment of reflection. Here's how we can do better in the future. But in terms of this being the first foray into this, we're going to say we were proud of what happened here, that kind of deal. But because this is I honestly looked at this and I was just like, I'm surprised that more people aren't hollering appropriation. That was my first thought, because to me it's a joke too, and I thought it was funny. But these days everyone on the internet at least tends to make a larger socio-political statement out of everything. So I was fully anticipating looking at this and just getting ready for the people who are commenting about how this is an appropriator. And I largely did not see that. So I'm glad that I didn't see that, because I do think that this is funny. But I do think that it's funny only because she is, by all intents and purposes, in a roundabout way, engaging in some form of appropriation. I do think that if that was a black breakdancer, there wouldn't be as much trolling, number one, and it would be more of in defense of the performance, because we want to be able to continue to prop up our exports on the main stage rather than tear them down. And so despite the fact that she didn't do well, we want to continue to, champion these things because we want to put our exports on center stage. But it just, to me, this kind of exemplified an interesting dichotomy between how close the line is of appropriation versus like in defense of a particular cultural act. But otherwise, I do think that this is funny and in jest. And hopefully there's a part of me that hopes that she comes back, and a part of me that hopes she doesn't. Like, like for her sake, if she comes back, it could get worse if she doesn't actually get better. But it can also be very entertaining. So the person in me that loves to see the chaos ensue wants to see her come back. But then the part of me that does have compassion for people and doesn't want to see somebody get enthralled and just, I don't want to see her become the centerpiece of a conversation about race and all of this other stuff. Like, it's exhausting. So that part of me doesn't want to see her come back. But if we can just make it, if we can keep it all in fun, then yeah, I'd say let her come back and stay on the scene and try again. Why not? The world needs more tryhards nowadays, I guess.
Yeah, man. And my thing is if I was an Australian, this woman would be even though she embarrassed the hell out of us, she would be a national treasure. Because you can't fake that type of not having rhythm. I mean, that was just genuine. I ain't got no moves. And to have it was so hard to watch. It was great to watch. So my thing about this was like, yo, how did she get this far? Did they not have qualifying rounds? They didn't have any heats. No, they didn't have any heats, no matches, no anything. I guess it was just sign up on a dotted line here, apparently. So I don't know what was going on with that. So, and the part where, so I think the next Olympics, if I read this right, I don't know where I saw it at, but I think it said that the next Olympics is going to be in LA. So, which is why I think that's why they're just not going to have it there. I don't think they want any gang activity showing up to the B-boy, B-girl competition. Nah, hey, real talk. So I said, why skip LA? But then they said they would resume again in 32. So I was like, hey, well, what the hell is that? So I don't know if they need to, put it in the incubator and get the judging and the stuff right. But I don't know what they're gonna blame this on. But to me, I thought it was fantastic. It was different. The Olympics is starting to become like Ripley's. Everything's becoming a goddamn world record. So at this point, they're going to start having, streaming in the Olympics or maybe even gaming. So, a little LOLs, a little League of Legends, a little whatever else these people out there playing, Call of Duty, some COD. So it might be Olympic level gaming coming not too far, just so they can keep looping people in with these distractions.
Yeah.
So I feel like B-boy, B-girl stuff is 2 decades, 3 decades late. There's not really many of them anymore. When I was in school, I was in some hip hop group or whatever, and it was this girl. She was really passionate about it, and I didn't know that it was a whole culture, kind of like skaters. So they got their own realm, their own lingo, their own way they look at hip hop and all that other stuff. And so if I was that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know how the real people feel about this, because it's like, yo, what's that? Even the real ones in Australia, I'm pretty sure they're pissed. But I think the layman, the everyday person that just needed a laugh from these daggone gas prices and groceries. Hey, Ray Gun, she distracted me for a good 30 minutes with some good laughs and memes I was scrolling down. So that's what I said, the world needed this laugh. So for anybody that's really getting uptight about this, I don't really see it. And by the way, this lady, like I'm saying, she's going to be rich for life for this now. So yeah, she's going to be crying in her Ferrari. So I'm not going to be sitting around here feeling sorry for her, because she's going to be cashing checks and doing things just because of this. So, and I'm not mad at it. So as of now, I'm not tired of it yet. When I see her in a few commercials, I ain't going to be tired of it. But I want to see it. I want to see her in a Geico commercial or something.
Yeah, I can feel that. So according to this, it says it's apparently up to the whole city. So without reading too much of the jargon, Los Angeles is where it's going to be in 2028, and they're not going to have it. But that doesn't mean it's gone permanently. It could come back if the whole city in 2032 wants to do it. So you were right about that. So it's not a permanent omission per se. It depends on whether the whole city wants to accommodate it. But your reasoning behind omitting it is that is very interesting. Wasn't there a video game character that used to be called Ray Gun? I feel like back in the day there was a video game where the character was called Ray Gun, but I could be wrong on that. Somebody fact check me in the comments. If anybody who watches our videos who is an old school gamer, like this goes back I'm talking like the PS1, PS2 days. Like I could have sworn there was some kind of a character. I think it was PlayStation, Ray Gun or something like that. I don't know. But check me out.
Okay,
Sure.
I'm gonna look into it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, shouts out to Ray Gun, man. Good luck. I want you back, but I don't want you back. As long as the world continues to look at this as a joke and not treat you too harshly, then I'm all good. I'm all good for you to come on back and continue to fine tune your breaking craft. Good luck to you.
Yeah, for sure, man. Hey, you're I don't know. Hey, I gotta consult with the community to see if I can give you a pass for the cookout. But I mean, I would love to see that happen in center stage at the cookout. So you got my invitation.
Oh boy.
Oh man, that's great.
Last but not least, we are going to get into Warden. The Warden, landlord, slumlord. What are some other adjectives that we can use to describe 50 here?
Jeez, bro.
50 apparently has been lording over Young Buck, who is indebted to him financially for some debts going way back in the day. But I guess the reason why this is trending is because Young Buck is finally in position to pay 50 Cent off and move on. He's no longer indebted to 50 Cent. And 50, being one of the king ding-a-ling trolls that he is, made sure to post about the fact that Young Buck is no longer indebted to him because the former G Unit member is now in position to be able to pay 50 Cent the money that he owes him. So this says 50 Cent sends message to Young Buck as he prepares to repay debt. Yesterday, a major update in the ongoing battle between former G Unit bandmates came through by way of All Hip Hop.
Hey, hang on, bro. Okay, now it's going because it had a spinning wheel for the longest, but it's up now.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll back up. 50 Cent sends message to Young Buck as he prepares to repay debt. Yesterday, a major update in the ongoing battle between former G Unit bandmates came through by way of All Hip Hop. According to them, Young Buck had collected enough money to pay off the debt he owes 50 Cent. It totals out to $250,000, and it comes from a loan that the G Unit head honcho took out to aid Buck. Speaking of which, the latter had to apply for bankruptcy in 2020 after life hit him hard in 2019. It took the Nashville, Tennessee rapper quite a bit of time to come up with the money. However, things finally seem to be on the up and up for Buck. Unfortunately, he did need to sell a lot of valuable assets to get this done, from jewelry to expensive cars to his catalog. Buck ultimately had to sacrifice in order to satisfy 50. All of this was able to go for over $1 million, and because of this, he's also able to pay the IRS the $190,000 he owes to them for child support. Now, with this being done, Hip Hop DX says that Buck has no more contractual obligations to 50 Cent. So here's 50 Cent trolling this situation on Instagram. It says, I don't know why they make me go through this part, but I'm going to need that money by Monday. Yeah. After years of going back and forth online and being at an extremely low point in his career, Young Buck can finally find his footing again. However, you know that when it comes to Fifth, he's not going to not have the last word. After hearing about this news from All Hip Hop, the Massacre MC reshared the publication's article on his Instagram with a caption, which I just read. So there you go, man. So $190,000 to the IRS on child support, in addition to being indebted to 50 Cent, $250,000. And it's sad, man. He had to sell off expensive jewelry, cars, and his catalog in order to come up with $1 million+ in order to be able to pay 50 Cent back, as well as the IRS. So what do you make of Young Buck finally being in position to pay off his debtors?
Well, Young Buck, he's got a bit of a checkered history, a checkered past, just as a person and with 50. But I'm still happy that he's able to get that monkey off his back, man. It's definitely a different type of problem to have than mine's when it comes to the bracket he was at, because these rappers be having stuff but they still don't have nothing. So for them to say that he had to sell off jewelry and cars, well, the guy had assets, and the assets that he got it from this money that he got from 50. So, or the exposure or the whatever. So in these situations, man, whenever, you gotta, pay the piper. How good did you come out of that? Is my thing. Uh, you know, Afterwards, how did you use this opportunity? Because at this point, you have to really look at these business loans that these people call signing people and giving them advances. You have to look at these business loans as an investment in yourself, not, I'm going to ball out. I don't know what Buck did, but I'm sure he did rapper stuff, and if he had to sell chains and cars, notice he ain't say nothing about stocks and bonds. So he was definitely doing the rapper thing and going the rapper lane. And yeah, I remember there was footage out there before, man, where Buck was basically just crying, like telling 50, man, hey, call the dogs off, man. I'm out here hurting. And 50 didn't want to hear it. And 50 will kick a man while he's down, because this is a rewarding moment, I'm sure, for Buck, that he's finally got that monkey off his back. And for 50 to go, hey, make sure it's in my account. Letting the world know that, hey, this chump owed me money for years. I'm glad I'm finally getting it, but make sure it's there. Yeah, we're dealing with a class A, class A-hole with Fifth. So you talk about trolling. So this dude here, man, he's gonna let it fly. So I do normally get a good laugh out of it, but for stuff like this, I was like, hey, man, because I know how it is to be in debt. So I think a lot of Americans do at this point. And so to get some type of loan institution off your back when you finally cleared the balance, something as high as that too, I'm pretty sure he did some cartwheels. So I'm pretty sure I'm happy. That's for like somebody getting out of jail, to be honest. So in certain contexts, it's like, hey, man, it's whatever, but good thing you're home, depending on who it is. Good thing you're home. So, yeah. But yeah, so in this situation, for him to get that off his back, yeah, I like that for young Buck. So, hopefully, he can stay on the straight and narrow, and stay out the way like how he's been staying, and start to make some money for himself. But what are your thoughts, man, on Sir Fifth trolling young Buck? But just the prospect of young Buck owing that much money, like, what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Whew, yeah, that $190,000 IRS debt can't be good on your credit report. That cannot look good on that credit report, man. Buck is probably in the trenches when it comes to credit, bro. Because I can't imagine that. I can't imagine what that does to your credit. I'm glad that he is now in position to move past it, for sure. I believe that a world that has more Black rich people than not is a better world. As much as I might talk about these rappers and all of this kind of stuff, or some of the moves that these athletes make in terms of like the women that they date and how that can be costly, at the end of the day, I think the world is a better place the more rich Black people there are in it. And so to see a Black person be in a position to be in that bracket, and because of decisions that he made and various other ways he was living his life, have that taken away from him, or rather, he didn't really have it taken away from him. He kind of relinquished it himself. Mm-hmm. It's sad to see that. And so it is unfortunate. However, I am glad to see or read that he is in a position to finally at least be able to move past the majority of these financial woes. But this, to me, is a larger referendum on the importance of financial literacy. This is a lesson that is most paramount, in my opinion, to people of color. And I'm not trying to make this a socio-political conversation, but statistically, the majority of people who live below that, prosperous money cut line are people of color, are minorities and people of color. And so it's the most important for people within that bracket to understand the importance of sound financial investments and financial literacy. Like, I would have to imagine that at some point, Buck, despite being indebted to 50, when he was in the peak of his career, had to have been making enough money for himself that if he had the foresight to do so, he could have made some sound financial investments that could have reaped benefits for him into the future. But a lot of us, unfortunately, live in the moment, and we don't necessarily have the foresight to maintain the right kind of financial literacy. So to me, an individual like Young Buck is a cautionary tale on the importance of not caring as much about instant gratification when it comes to stuff, things that immediately depreciate in value, cars, jewelry, and the importance of embracing things that appreciate in value over time. Property, land, houses, and various other strategic investments that you can make if you have a sound financial advisor who can invest you on things coming on the horizon. Like, I would have loved to have been on the ground floor of something like, Bumble or Slack. Some of these little things that we use every day, Trello. Like if I had a person who was knowledgeable about this stuff, who could have told me 15 years ago, hey, bro, there's this thing coming down the pike called Slack, and it's really going to impact how people work virtually. You might want to get in and be an investor in Slack. I'd be, I might, depending on how many shares of it I bought back then, I might be a millionaire today, right? So like, when you're someone who is making that kind of money to be able to afford someone who has the expertise to kind of help you guide you along your journey of financial literacy, that to me is an invaluable asset. I'm not trying to chastise Buck because you don't know what you don't know. So I'm not really talking directly to Buck. I'm just saying this is an overall referendum on the importance of financial literacy, especially for people who are in that lower socioeconomic tier who stand to benefit the most from being able to make sound financial investments and decisions. And it's all fun and games to be able to make $10,000 and go and get you a Lambo or go to the club and ball out and engage in various habits and behaviors that amount to nothing but depreciable assets. But you're gonna be hurting like Buck, and you don't want to be dead at the people because the gratification and the pleasure that you get from engaging in that instant gratification is not as much as the pain that you feel when you are indebted and you didn't make those investments, and now you don't have a pot to piss in because you owe people and you do not have the financial wherewithal to be able to make your own decisions and be your own person. And I'm going to take the peace of mind of knowing that I am not in that situation over the pleasure of the instant gratification of being able to just engage in the pleasantries of stuff. And something tells me that Buck was engaging in the pleasantries of stuff.
Oh yeah, he was.
And no matter what I could say about 50, because I got a lot of issues with 50, his entertainment ventures, some of the stuff that he promotes through TV shows,
right,
and how he has the gall, the audacity, he has the unmitigated gall to suggest that stuff is authentically representing people from those communities. Yeah. Like, I have a real issue with 50 Cent when it comes to stuff like that. Correct. It's the gall to say that with a straight face, and he believes it. You got to have a lot of chutzpah to really believe this kind of stuff. And so I take issue with 50 Cent when it comes to stuff like that. But one thing that I will give him credit for is, even going back to when he first came on the scene, it looked like he was smart in terms of being able to position his financial interests to be able to continue to make money for him into perpetuity so that he is never indebted to people in the future. And I got to give him credit for that. And I just hope that most people can take heed and learn from the mistakes that people like Buck make.
Yeah, and well said, man. And this kind of ties into what we were talking about last week when we were just saying that some people just sign on a dotted line. And he had a bar like that too. Man, I used to listen to his first CD all the time.
Yeah.
He said they don't even read the paperwork, just sign on the line. He said that himself. And so, yeah, and that's what he got himself caught in the middle of. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can make a bet on yourself, but when you made that bet on yourself, you have to remember the bet is still active, and you have to cash this bet in.
Yeah.
And you can't just roll around and just, like, this is all gravy. So I think for him, man, I think he just got caught up in like just being a rapper, man. And guys like 50 prey on guys like Buck.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Facts.
so I'm pretty sure Buck knows this whole, inside out. I bet he can't stand 50, much like a lot of people that did business with him. So, but one thing about 50 is he's going to take business over everything. So, he's got a little Jay-Z in him, actually. Now, I mean that is he's just going to do business.
Right. Yeah.
And if he has to burn a personal bridge in order to do it, then so be it. But he gonna keep Yayo next to him because Yayo is a loyal dog. Yayo ain't going nowhere. So yeah, Yayo ain't going nowhere. But wouldn't be surprised if 50 had to make a business decision to get rid of this guy. Because hey man, I'm really up here now, and you still a little too however he got to do it. So wouldn't be surprised. So Fifth is who he is. I agree with you, man. I don't give him a pass for his music or any of the media he chooses to make. The one thing I will do is laugh at him when he trolls people. So so I think he does interneting well. I think he handles it well, especially for somebody his age. He's really on top of things. So he's used this as an opportunity for more content for himself. And I thought this one was in poor taste, but when you're dealing with 50, that's his whole shtick.
Right.
So yeah, if you associate with him, it's either ride or get rolled on. So hey man, but shout out to Buck, man, for getting that monkey off your back, man. I had payday advance loans back in the day, bro. It was hellacious. So I can only imagine when you 190K in deep with the feds, because at that point your show money getting garnished.
Yeah.
So they come in. So I'm pretty sure at that point, that's when he was like, hey man, I'm not trying to have wages garnished. I might as well get off all these chains and cars. And yeah, bro, you don't need it anyway. So but yeah, good for him, man. So hopefully he can turn his life around. Hopefully.
Yeah, shouts out to Buck, man. Good luck, bro. I'm with you on that. Hopefully he can get into something that's not rapping though, because Buck doesn't strike me as the kind of person who knows how to make age appropriate music. So
he's still talking that talk.
Yeah, I know exactly. So maybe he can figure out his next pathway. But it is what it is, man. I never like to see too many of our people indebted in this manner. It really is rough. So shouts out to Buck in that regard, and good luck to him. I hope he figures it out. Sure. But on that note, another good stream in the books, Conscious Approach, another week, another selection of fantastic topics. We are going to go ahead and close things out. JV Wins, Dogon SS, riding with you as always. Check me out on Instagram at JV Wins, JVWINS. Check out Conscious Approach on Con Approach, CONAPPROACH. We are also uploading these RSS feeds so that you can listen to the audio on podcast service providers. So be on the lookout for that, man. Until the next stream, until the next video, always remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We certainly appreciate the support. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the commentary in this or any other video. Remember to think for yourself, and we will see you on the flip side.
Yeah. And the name is Dogon SS. And you can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS and on YouTube at Dogon_SS. Also on TikTok, I be posting videos and things now. Goodness, I can't believe it. All right, but follow me over there too. All right, Dogon_SS. And as I say on every part, guys, all right, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it clear, and don't let anybody get you off your pivot. So until the next time, guys, I'm gonna be like Ray Gun out here and start cutting up a rug. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Shouts out to Ray Gun. All right, y'all. We out of there. Peace.
Peace. Go Canes. We here. Go Dolphins.
Yo, Ray Gun.